This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, my name is Barry Morgan and I'm president of the Probus Club in Guildwood, which is a small village in the very close to Toronto in the province of Ontario, Canada. Today's presentation is going to be given by the president of Probus Global about the formation of Probus Global, how it started, where it is today, and a good way of connecting various countries all the way around the world. So I'll hand over to Richard and he can introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Furlong. I'm the president of Probus Global. Previously, I had been president of Probus Canada and the Probus Club here in Newmarket, Ontario, which is my local club. So today, Barry and I will go through the birth of Probus Global, how it got started, and the significance of Probus Global today in the world of Probus around the world. The next slide, Barry. No slides coming up.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So you've got that, Richard?
I've got that, yes. So if you go to, ready for the second slide. So if you go from there. If you go down on the bottom, you'll see the icon to make the full screen.
There's slide number 2.
Okay, thank you. International Probus started in 1996 after the founding of Probus in 1965 in the UK by a number of individuals who were traveling back and forth to London by a train and had created a strong social link among themselves. And coming up to retirement age, they said, wouldn't it be great if we continued our relationship? So they formed a campus club. Campus club really got a lot of exposure and Rotary heard about it. And they formed a new club for retirees. This club was called Probus. Probus stands for professional business. So that was the start of Probus, and obviously from there, it spread in the UK, then Australia, New Zealand, Canada, South Africa, India, Europe. So it really did take off as a great social club for retirees. In 1996, a number of members were looking at how do we contact other members around the world. So they formed the informal Probus network, mostly contacting via email for the chat group. It started originally with about 13 members in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, obviously with the UK also involved. It grew to where it had about 150, 160 members. And they had many other topics of discussion. And in 2007, this group was renamed into the International Probus Network, otherwise known as IPN. From IPN, they continued to have exchanges around the world, but due to technology and the interest, IPN had shrunk to about 30 to 35 members by 2018, and people were looking around at how to reboot the international scope of Probus. Personally, as a member of the board of Probus Canada, I was always interested in the international concept. And when Steve Campbell, a former president of Probus Canada, was retiring in about 2016, as we're having a chat as he was leaving his last meeting, I said, Steve, what is your plans from here? He said, well, I'd like to really think what we could do internationally. And then when I retired about 2 years after that, I contacted Steve and said, I remember the comment you made. Let's do something for international Probus. So we looked around, found IPN, saw what the status was, and we contacted the driving force between IPN, which was Shirley Roberts, based in the UK, and a number of other people, and said, we'd like to really look at the options. And they said, well, we've shrunk so much, we're not sure what we'd like to do. So we talked about it, and then at that point, we decided to reboot IPN and looked at the options, and we formed Probus Global. Next slide, Barry, please. So we created Probus Global. And the first option really was to reboot the whole program we had and have a look at how we were going to approach the global aspect of Probus and how we're going to confront the growth challenge. As I mentioned, IPN had shrunk. So how we were going to create a system around the world, also with interest by different people, and obviously to grow. Next slide, Barry. So in sitting back, we said, okay, what do we need to do? First of all, we have to understand, what is Probus Global? And number one, it is a global community. It is numerous members from around the world of Probus, stretching from India through to Australia, New Zealand. What is the purpose? Well, we want to make friends around the world. We want to share our passions for retirement and Probus in particular. We wanted to have people that travel, that have links in other countries around the world. Obviously, we wanted to learn about other parts of the world, but also, the key thing with Probus is the keynote speakers we have. Let's make sure that other people around the world know the type of speakers and the quality, and particularly the topics those people have. And obviously, the next concept is, what do we need to do to grow? Next slide, Barry. So with our reboot program, the first thing we did was establish a management team. We had members in Canada, some of them from the previous IPN, Australia, and the UK. One of the first things we did was we produced a global brochure, which was readily available on our website. We started a newsletter that would be produced and sent around the world. We would have a website, and we would have our members listed around from around the world on our website. You can contact any person that's a Probus member anywhere in the world. Obviously, I mentioned the website. We do have the probusglobal.org website. Very informative site for anybody that would like to know what's going on around the world, and particularly within the world of Probus. And also for creating an international communication system, whether it's through emails or through chat lines or whatever. Those are readily available through our website. Next slide, Barry. So in looking at Provost Global, we have to create a vision. What is the vision for global around the world? Well, obviously, it's to promote the Provost. Communication is critical. Making sure that people that travel are aware where Provost members are, and also having contacts around the world that can exchange local knowledge. Our concept also was to have a member in every region of the world, which meant that we should have Provost clubs in those parts of the world. And of course, extending our experience and fun to retired and semi-retired people. Fellowship, that's the #1 criteria for Provost, whether it's your local club, whether it's in your country, or globally. And making sure that it is really fellowship and no constraints, particularly around politics, religion, or fundraising. Those are important criteria that we have in Provost, and that's really a criteria that's worldwide. Next slide, Barry. So when we looked at our reboot, the first thing we thought about was you really need to put a plan together. And we looked at what our strategic plan, what would be the directions we would like to go. So obviously putting a plan together, growth, #1 again, is critical. Communications, making sure all members are aware of who Provost Global may be. Making sure that we continue to support clubs and make sure that they remain strong, whatever country they may come from. Also for travelers, wherever you are a Provost member, you have friends around the world. Make sure you use that when you're traveling. And make sure that our independence is maintained. That's critical for the enjoyment of Provost. So continuing with our strategic plan, the next slide. So some of the plans we put together back in 2018 for our strategic actions that will be required. I did mention we did have a brochure we did design and put together, and mostly in the direction of Shirley Roberts. Shirley also produced the first newsletters for Provost Global. We made sure that we had links to all Provost regions. Go to our website. You can talk to anybody, anywhere in the world. Make sure that you're aware the website's out there and use it. It's a great tool. And of course, we formed our team with members from Canada, Australia, United Kingdom. Those were the initial group, and from there we expanded, as you will see later as I talk about the organization today. The next slide, Barry. So in 2019, we looked at our options for marketing Provost Global. #1, build our Provost Global website. We made sure that people around the world could talk to each other, so chat rooms were formed. We made sure that the circulation was there on our brochures and newsletters and any other publications that may come out of Provost Global, or publications that come out from other districts, meetings, clubs, central organizations. These also could be circulated utilizing the Provost Global Network. And of course, October 1st, that is Provost Day around the world. This ties in with United Nations program and also numerous countries around the world. So when we originally talked about this in 2019, we were looking at a potentially a day, a week, or a month, and now we pinned that down to October 1st. That is Provost Day. And everybody should be celebrating that around the world. Next one, Barry. Where are we today as far as how many clubs and members are around the world? You probably have seen many circulations from different clubs, central groups, organizations, many thoughts on how many members there are. There's publications quoting up to 400,000 and 5,000 clubs. We created a matrix of information that we gathered from around the world, and the best information that we've been able to assemble is today we have 4,074 clubs with 268,000 members worldwide. And the interesting thing is that averages out to about 66 members per club. And you know that club size varies around the world. In some locations, we have clubs with 400 or 500 members. Other parts of the world, we have clubs with 25 members. So it's what works for any particular club, but the average is 66 is just an idea of what the average is around the world. So each club, as I say, is autonomous, so each has their own driving force and what makes them successful. Next slide, Barry. So we talked a little bit about our start as Probus Global. Where are we today? Well, we have a management team in place from around the world. Obviously, I've introduced myself as President of Probus Global. I'm located in Canada. Peter Jennings, who really built our website and put it together and continues to manage it on a daily basis, also based in Canada. One of our management individual, Merv, is in Australia. Rob is in Australia. Marlene is in Canada. Jock is in France. Graham is in the UK. Linda, who does a fantastic job on tracking information on members and clubs, she's in Canada also. And a recent addition, Mary, is our newsletter editor, and she is in New Zealand. So a well-rounded group of individuals from many different locations around the world. And our next slide, Barry. So the part of this talked about the management team, but we have additional support. We have set up country coordinators from around the world. Those are people that monitor what is happening internally within their country, but also projecting the international scope of Probus, the global concept. So they promote local Probus, their countries, and also what is available globally. So we're now set up in Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, South Africa, India. In Canada, we have two individuals that kind of look after a lot of things for us. Marlene is our coordinator for Canada, and Steve Meir looks after our Zoom program, particularly for our general meetings on Zoom. Then we have another gentleman in India, Dr. Rao, and Merv is in Australia, Robert in Wales, New Zealand with Liz, coordinator, Rob in South Africa, Stan in South Scotland, Gauthier in Belgium, and Patrick helps out with the newsletter, who's in the UK. So once again, individuals from around the world that support the Probus ideals in making Probus Probus Global work. The next slide, Barry. So as we've traveled down the road since 2018, when we formed Probus Global with about 30 members, we've created many new programs and ideals to support the members around the world. Speaker's Corner. Clubs or individuals can go on our website, go to Speaker's Corner, and find so many interesting speakers from around the world. We have a travel coordinator who, this is a program that we plan to expand, but right now we're zeroing in on different countries. Say, if you want to travel this country, here's a coordinator for you. He can talk to you, or she can talk to you about what's happening in their country. We just created a new program, Photos. We had a Flickr program, which wasn't really being used that much, but we just added a new program with photos from around the world by members. We created Probus Global Awards. We have the Shirley Roberts Memorial Award for Outstanding Service to Probus and Probus Global. That award the first one will be announced in the newsletter coming up in December of 2022. And we also have an achievement award for other Probus members, Probus Global members who do outstanding work. But certainly the Shirley Roberts Award is for outstanding achievement. And the program says maximum of one award per year. So it's really a prestigious award. Probus Day, as I mentioned, October 1st, we're floating out around the world. The newsletter comes out quarterly, another one, as I mentioned, coming up soon here in December of 2022, and it'll be followed by quarterly, yearly. We've updated our chat room so people from around the world can get in there and talk to different people. From a management structure, we have quarterly general meetings. Anybody that is a Probus Global member can attend and certainly give their input into how the organization is formed and managed and the future outlook. And of course, our webmaster, Peter, he just finished a program where every member and every club is now mapped. If you want to go find somebody in some country that you may be traveling to, you can go and zero in on where those clubs or our members are. The next slide, Barry.
To shift some of the topics around, I really want to get to the issue of the luncheon, which is on the 14th, and I'm afraid if we do all of this other stuff before that time, we won't be able to address them.
We're getting some interference, Barry. Next slide.
That's the last slide, Richard.
That's the last slide, right?
Yes.
And for contact information, go to that website. It's probusglobal.org. That's an easy one to find and to put in your memory bank. And of course, if you need any contact information or additional thoughts on Probus Global, you can contact the president of Probus Global at president@probusglobal.org. Thank you very much.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much. That was very, very interesting. And we look forward to feedback from all the various countries around the world. And any questions, they know how to get in touch with you. Okay, Richard, thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you for arranging this dialogue and this presentation. Appreciate it.
Righto, thank you.